Wow. The Unitarian Universalist Office at the United Nations represents the Unitarian Universalist Association and the Canadian Unitarian Council at the United Nations, where it promotes the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, as reflected in the United Nations Charter. From involvement in drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to leading the Faith Caucus to establish the International Criminal Court, to overcoming UN apathy about sexual orientation and gender identity issues, Unitarian Universalists have a long history of providing strong leadership at the United Nations in all aspects of human rights at a policy-making level. John Peters Humphrey, a Canadian human rights advocate, lawyer, and professor, was the principal author of the first draft of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, widely acknowledged as a milestone document in the history of human rights. It was dubbed by Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt as the International Magna Carta of all humankind. On this day, as we mark and celebrate the anniversary of the establishment of this audaciously visionary international body, we celebrate with the larger Vancouver community in recognizing the accomplishments of young people towards achieving the goals set by our visionary ancestors. And before we meet the inspiring young women receiving the Gibbard Award this morning, we will hear from another great young leader, UCV's very own Noella Prescott, about our continuing connections with the United Nations. Thank you, Noella.
Hello, I'm Noella, and I go by she, her pronouns. I'm currently working as the Youth Dean for the UU at UN Intergenerational Spring Seminar. I work as part of the planning committee and help direct the trajectory of the seminar, as well as lead and facilitate activities and workshops during the seminar. I've been doing this job since September 2020, and it has been such a great opportunity to push myself out of my comfort zone and meet many interesting people. My favorite part of this job is learning about cool organizations and action groups that are working so hard to make the world a better place. This year's 2021 UN Sunday theme is All In for Climate Justice, Food Equity and Sustainability. When picking this theme, we knew we wanted to address climate change since it is such a prevalent and time-sensitive issue, but it's a huge topic, so we wanted to narrow it down to focus on food justice. The most important thing I took away from delving into food justice is how much it intersects with other issues. It is closely tied not only to climate action, but also colonization, racism, and especially classism, so it's important to keep all of those things in mind when talking about food equity and sustainability. Here's a statement from the UU office at the United Nations. Food systems and the Earth's climate are deeply intertwined. The changing climate is negatively affecting farmlands through unpredictable weather patterns that can cause floods, drought, contamination, and unseasonable temperatures. Meanwhile, unsustainable food systems are accelerating the rate of climate destruction through methane emissions from cows and other livestock, deforestation to expand grazing and croplands, and polluting distribution channels. The solutions that lead us to sustainable farmland, land that is healthier and more biodiverse, are also healing for our planet and building resilience for our food crops and our community. Critical in all of this is the role that systems of oppression have historically played and continue to play in how food is grown and distributed. Capitalism has created a system that prioritizes profit, leading to the exploitation of land and farm workers. In a similar strain, this obsession with profit has made it so that the food that's easiest and cheapest to get is ultra-processed and low in nutrients. Lack of access to fresh and nutritious foods is especially prominent in Black, Indigenous, and other people of color communities where centuries of oppression have created environmental and economic harm. It is important to educate communities about the way in which our food is grown and the impact those farming practices have on our planet. Wow, that's a lot. So why should we all get involved? Well, food is one of the most basic human rights, yet people around the world still do not have easy access to affordable, sustainable, healthy, and culturally appropriate foods. Looking at our principles, our first and second ones call us to make the world a more just place and treat everyone with the respect they deserve. But people who lack food security do not have their inherent worth respected, and we are all called to change that. Here's an excerpt from the Statement of Conscience adopted by the UUA General Assembly in 2011. Aware of our interdependence, we acknowledge that eating ethically requires us to be mindful of the miracle of life we share with all beings. With gratitude for the food we have received, we strive to choose foods that minimize harm and are protective of the environment, consumers, farmers, and all those involved in food production and distribution. It can definitely be overwhelming to even know where to start taking action, since much of this issue does not come from individual eating habits, but from wasteful corporations and exploitative governments. But always remember, you are not alone. You are not the only one trying to make change. Look for local groups who are already doing the work, or bigger organizations who already have great action items and plans to change the world. Another thing you can do is hold the government accountable for their agriculture laws, food programs, and other ways they contribute to food injustice. Write letters to government representatives, sign petitions, and just make your voice heard. On a more personal level, learn where your food comes from and keep in mind the impacts on the environment when you are shopping. Remember that no one is perfect, but it's more important for everyone to make small steps towards eating sustainably. For example, maybe you can try eating plant-based foods just 1 or 2 days a week. Remember, personal and local actions lead to global change. Another great way to get connected to initiatives related to this issue is to get involved with the UU office at the UN. Check out their website for more ideas, or come to events hosted by them, such as the Intergenerational Spring Seminar. Next year's UU at UN Intergenerational Spring Seminar will be focusing on the impacts of climate-forced migration and how the climate emergency is impacting human rights. And it's set to take place next April. The planning committee is still in the early stages of developing it, but look out for more information soon. Last year, it was a weekend full of connection, fun activities, deep learning, meaningful worships, and taking action, so I hope I can see you all there in April. One of the most important things we can all do is support each other, especially young people. We're about to hear about and to celebrate some inspiring young women who are showing how they are making a difference in the world. Bye.
People. Thank you, Noella. For the past 30 years, since 1991, the Unitarian Church of Vancouver has been proud to be the site for the presentation of the United Nations Association in Canada's annual Gibbard Award. It has been an honor and a delight to us in this congregation to meet and be part of a moment for extraordinary groups of young people whose energy and dedication toward making our world a better place is a source of wonder and an inspiration to us all. John Gibbard was born in Mission, BC in 1901 and died in Vancouver in 1990. He was for 30 years a teacher at McGee High School and for 15 years a professor in the Faculty of Education at UBC. He was active in teachers' organizations, the Vancouver Historical Society, the United Nations Association, and the Peace Movement, and in this church. An ardent supporter of the League of Nations when he was 18, he became a member of the United Nations Association in Canada when the UN was formed after the Second World War. Oh, that was him on the screen there. There he is. The award that bears his name is dedicated to Canadian youth involved in the creation of a better world for all. We welcome to our services today Greg Newman, representative of the United Nations Association in Canada, and the winners of this year's Gibbard Award, She Connects founders Megan Dunn, Emily Hagen, Lena Parhar, and Avneet Sandhu. Thank you.
First thing I would like to mention is the amazing job that everybody involved in the running of this service has done in making us all feel safe, and the joy you guys are feeling is palpable. It's amazing. Yeah. So welcome to the annual John Gibbard Award. In 2020, I'm not sure if you all remember the video presentation that was made. We are much happier to do this in person. My name is Greg Newman. I'm a past co-president of the UN Association. And a couple of our fellow members, Patsy and Amanda, are here to join with us today, and several are online watching the live stream as well. As has been the case for many years, we've been able to, we've had the honor of joining the Unitarian Church, and this one is particularly important considering we are landing directly on the UN Day, but also on such an important day for you all with the reopening of the church to in-person congregations. 76 years ago, after the terrible lessons of World War II, which for some began in 1931 and lasted through to 1945, after that, those events, the UN was formed, and soon thereafter UN associations were formed all around the world. The preamble to the UN has, its charter, has existed as a statement to the desire and determination to build a better world. In its charter preamble, and I paraphrase, the United Nations determined to save succeeding generations from this scourge of war, to reaffirm our faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, in the equal rights of men and women, and to the nations, large and small, and to establish conditions under which justice and respect for the obligations of international agreements can be maintained, to promote social progress and better standards of living, to promote peaceful existence as neighbors, as well as promote economic and social advancement for all. I hear this throughout this service in the messages of every person that has spoken, the story that was told, all of it. It's quite interesting to see how we cross-sect with the Unitarian Church in so many ways. The signatories to the Charter thus established the international organization to be known as the United Nations. These values are reflected in the Charter, are applicable to us today in every way. In the UN's past Millennium Development Goals and the present 17 Sustainable Development Goals. They live and work in the work of every UN association around the world. So in honoring an individual or group of young people up to the age of 25 with the John Gibbard Award, we honor the UN's intentions and principles, as well as its namesake, the man who initiated the award that we just saw the picture of, John Gibbard. He was a firm believer that youth would need to be integral to the mission of the UN Association to create a better world. We received strong nominations for this year's award, and after carefully considering all, the John Gibbard Award Committee determined the group She Connects was most deserving. The scope of their impact is impressive, and from the perspective of a high school teacher, such as myself, their focus on guiding our young women to be successful given all the challenges they face is extremely appropriate. So congrats to all 4 of you for all the great work you are doing and will do in the future. John Gibbard would be quite affirming in our selection of you as recipients. And as the UNA Vancouver branch has communicated in various ways online and over the phone after reading all about you, we are very, very proud of you and your work. Thank you. I'd like to invite you up to say a few words.
Thank you everyone for being here and for recognizing She Connects Foundation with this award. My name is Emily and I'm here with my colleagues Avni, Megan, and Lena, and we're the 4 co-founders of She Connects. We first want to recognize that we are settlers on this Indigenous land and that we value the privilege to conduct our work and live our lives on the beautiful lands now called Canada. We gather on the traditional and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Our work with youth mentees and young women comes from a lens of decolonization. We are a grassroots nonprofit organization that is fully run by women who are passionate about supporting younger women and gender nonconforming youth in Canada. Thank you to the UNAC Vancouver and the Unitarian Church of Vancouver for having us speak about She Connects during this beautiful service. We're really happy to be here, especially getting to see everyone in person. So it's great to be here, and I'll pass it over to my colleague, Lena.
So we wanted to tell you a bit about how She Connects began. We started this initiative in April of 2019. The 4 of us met in Parliament at Daughters of the Vote, where we represented our ridings of Langley, Abbotsford, Maple Ridge, and Fleetwood, Port Kells. We had the opportunity to sit in the House of Commons and Senate in Ottawa to bring attention to our leaders about the concerns that we had in our communities. When we returned home, we were given the opportunity to apply for the Rosemary Spears Leadership Grant to start a leadership project in our communities. We collaborated to find a solution to a problem we all had in high school, which was that there were very limited opportunities for mentorship, something we would have all benefited from in those confusing and overwhelming years before post-grad.
Before the 4 of us co-founded She Connects, we had the opportunity to chat about what this initiative would really look like. We reflected on our days in high school and discussed the anxieties and stress that we experienced during our teen years, because we were unsure about the route we were going to take as we stepped into post-grad life. Was the route we chose conventional or unconventional? If conventional, who do I talk to about post-secondary? Do I have the grades? Did I miss something during the process? All questions remained unanswered for the most part. And as a woman of color, this process was that much more tricky because I didn't have the guidance or the mentor to look up to. Now more than ever, I'm cognizant about the struggles many young girls of color face, as most are still first-generation post-secondary students, or empowering young ladies taking the non-traditional route that is sometimes still frowned upon. It is my hope that She Connects can be a safe space for young girls and women and will allow them to speak to a mentor directly about anything that they might need guidance on, whether that's mental health, education, career, anxiety, stress. We're here and no judgment ever.
Our vision with She Connects is to build a nationwide community of female leaders who support, empower, and encourage one another to pursue their dreams by creating meaningful connections through mentorship relationships. Our program is a national initiative that provides mentorship to young women in high school. Our mentors range from 20 to 30 years old. She Connects programs are inclusive to women, girls, and gender nonconforming folks of all identities. We are still looking for more mentees to join the program. If anyone is interested or knows someone who may be interested, they are welcome to apply on our website, sheconnects.ca, as a mentee. This award isn't only for us, it's for our entire team. It's because of the She Connects mentors that we are standing in front of you all today. So thank you to our mentors. We are so appreciative to be receiving the John Gibbard Memorial Award, especially since he was dedicated to involving youth in the creation of a better world for all. We believe that She Connects is promoting this mission as we continue to grow across Canada, and we aim to build stronger and more connected communities of young women who support one another. So thank you.
We'll just take a moment to take a couple of photos and I'll present you with the plaque, the big one here, and also a certificate recognizing your achievement. Congratulations.
Beside the plaque here.